"I think your wife is sleeping with Jack," Dave said, sliding a flash drive across the table. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. "That's not funny," I managed to say, my voice hollow. Dave leaned forward, his eyes filled with uncomfortable sympathy. "I'm not joking, Mike. There's footage from your house cameras. Times when you were working late." I set my cup down with deliberate care, afraid I might shatter it otherwise. "Jack, my best friend for 12 years. Sarah, my wife of 15. The sudden, vivid image of them together made my stomach turn. "Show me," I demanded, pulling out my laptop. Dave hesitated. Maybe somewhere private would be better. "Show me now." I barely recognized my own voice. With reluctance, he plugged in the drive. A few clicks later, I watched as Sarah opened our front door. Jack stepped inside, carrying a bottle of wine. They hugged. A real embrace, not the quick side hug Sarah gave everyone else. Her hand lingered on his back, fingers splayed possessively. The timestamp showed Tuesday, 8:17 p.m. I had been working late, finishing the quarterly report. Sarah had texted that she was tired and going to bed early. I closed the laptop with a sharp snap that made the woman at the next table jump. "There's more," Dave said quietly. "A lot more." I pocketed the flash drive, threw $20 on the table, and stood up. My mind was already racing ahead to tonight, our dinner with friends. With Jack and his wife, Melissa. "Where are you going?" Dave called after me. I didn't answer, pushing through the door into the bright morning sunlight that now seemed obscenely cheerful. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Sarah, "Picking up your suit from the cleaners for tonight. Can't wait to see everyone." My jaw clenched so tight I heard something crack. "Everyone." Jack. The lines we'd all thought were clear, the boundaries I'd trusted without question. I took a deep breath and typed, "Looking forward to it. I have something important to share with the group." Jack. My best friend for 12 years. The guy who'd been at our wedding, who'd helped me move into our house, who'd been my confidant through the hardest times of my life. And now somehow, he was texting my wife regularly without me knowing. Sarah dumped her plate in the sink with more force than necessary. "I'm going to be late for my hair appointment," she said, not looking at me. "We're still on for dinner with the Prestons tonight, right?" "Yeah," I replied, my voice flat. "The Prestons. And Jack and Melissa." Her back stiffened slightly before she turned, forcing a smile. "It'll be fun. We haven't all gotten together in a while." An hour later, I sat alone at the kitchen table, my coffee cold. The house felt too quiet, too empty. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Jack's name in my contacts. When was the last time we texted just the two of us? 3 weeks ago, about a football game. Before that, planning a group outing. My thumb hovered over his name. What would I even say? "Hey man, why are you texting my wife behind my back?" I'd sound paranoid, jealous, insecure. And maybe I was. I set my phone down and walked to our home office, opening Sarah's laptop. We knew each other's passwords. We always had. Nothing to hide. We'd agreed years ago. I typed in her password, hating myself even as I did it. Her Instagram was already logged in. I clicked on the direct messages and there it was, right at the top. Jack's name, with a message from just this morning. "Thanks for the laugh. Needed that today. Meeting with the boss is going to be hell." And Sarah's response, "Anytime. Good luck with the dragon lady. Dinner still on for tonight?" I scrolled up, my stomach tightening. Dozens of messages, exchanged over months. Videos, memes, jokes. Nothing explicitly inappropriate, but the familiarity was unmistakable. They had inside jokes. References I didn't understand. Then I saw it. A photo of a t-shirt. "Think he'd like this?" Sarah had written. "Perfect. That's me all over. You know me too well. S." I remembered that shirt. The one Sarah had picked out for us to give Jack last summer. The one he wore every time we all hung out together. The office suddenly felt too small. I slammed the laptop shut and stood up, my heart pounding in my chest. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Dave, my coworker. "You still want me to look at those security camera clips from your house? You seemed pretty worked up yesterday." I'd forgotten about that. During lunch yesterday, I'd mentioned my concerns to Dave, and he'd offered to review our home security footage. He was a tech guy, said he could help me check for any unusual patterns when I wasn't home. It had seemed extreme then. Now, I wasn't so sure. "Yeah," I texted back. "I'll send you access to the cloud storage." The rest of the day crawled by. I couldn't focus on work. Couldn't stop checking my phone. Dave texted that he was looking through footage but hadn't found anything yet. I kept seeing Sarah smile as she texted Jack, the way she'd set the phone face down instead of leaving it out like usual. By evening, I'd worked myself into a state. Sarah came home, fresh from the salon, her hair falling in soft waves the way I'd always liked it. "You look nice," I said mechanically. "Thanks," she replied, heading upstairs to change. Jack texted that they're running a little late. Melissa had some work emergency. Of course Jack had texted her, not me, about their arrival time for dinner with us. 40 minutes later, we were at the restaurant, seated at a round table. Jack arrived with Melissa, apologizing for the delay. He moved quickly, sliding into the seat right next to Sarah before I could even react. I ended up across the table, watching them. The Prestons arrived last, completing our party of 6. I barely heard the conversation flowing around me. All I could see was how Jack leaned towards Sarah when she spoke, how they exchanged glances when someone said something amusing. "Mike?" Karen Preston's voice broke through my fog. "Earth to Mike." "Sorry," I mumbled. "Miles away. I was asking about that conference you went to in Chicago. Jack mentioned you gave a presentation?" I glanced at Jack. "Yeah, last month." "When did Jack and I discuss that?" A brief, uncomfortable silence fell over the table. "Oh, Sarah mentioned it," Jack said smoothly. "Said you knocked it out of the park." Sarah took a large sip of her wine, avoiding my gaze. The evening dragged on. I watched as Jack casually touched Sarah's arm while making a point, the way she didn't pull away, the way their shoulders sometimes brushed. Nothing anyone would notice unless they were looking for it. Like I was. My phone buzzed in my pocket. "Dave. Dude, check your email. Now." I excused myself to the restroom, pulling up my email as soon as I was alone. Dave had sent a video file with a timestamp from 3 days ago, when I'd been working late. The subject line simply read, "You need to see this." My hands shook as I pressed play. The footage was from our living room camera. Sarah was there, alone, in her workout clothes. The doorbell rang, and she answered it. Jack stepped inside. They talked for a moment, then sat on the couch, close, too close. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but their body language was intimate, comfortable. At one point, Sarah laughed and playfully pushed his shoulder. He caught her hand and held it for a beat too long. The video ended after a few minutes. They hadn't kissed, hadn't done anything explicitly wrong, but the energy between them was undeniable. I felt sick. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead as I gripped the edge of the sink. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Dave, another video clip. This one from 2 weeks ago, also when I was working late. Similar scene, different day. Sarah and Jack, alone in my house, sitting too close on my couch. I stepped out of the bathroom just as the waiter was bringing dessert menus. Sarah looked up, her smile faltering when she saw my face. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Fine," I said, my voice hollow as I sat down. "Just work stuff." I watched them throughout dessert, seeing everything with new eyes. The way Jack positioned himself, always in Sarah's orbit. The way she responded to him, so naturally, so easily. The ride home was silent. Sarah tried to make conversation a few times, but my one-word answers eventually led her to give up. Back home, she kicked off her heels in the entryway. "What's going on, Mike? You've been weird all night." "Have I?" I pulled out my phone, fingers hovering over Dave's email. Maybe I'm just tired of being the only one who doesn't know what's happening in my own marriage. Her face paled slightly. "What are you talking about?" "You and Jack. The texts. The secret visits when I'm working late." "Visits? What visits?" Her voice rose slightly, but there was something in her eyes, a flicker of panic. "Don't," I said, my voice breaking. "Don't lie to me. I've seen the security footage, Sarah. I know he's been here when I'm not home." Her mouth opened, then closed. She crossed her arms defensively. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife and my best friend are having something. An emotional affair, at minimum." "That's ridiculous," she snapped, but her cheeks flushed red. "Jack and I are friends. That's all. Friends who text constantly. Friends who have inside jokes and secrets. Friends who sit so close their bodies touch whenever they think no one's looking. You're being paranoid." She moved toward the stairs, trying to end the conversation. I blocked her path. "No more lies, Sarah. I deserve the truth." She stared at me, tears welling in her eyes. "There's nothing to tell. Nothing's happened between us." "But you wanted to," I said quietly, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. "Don't you?" She looked away, which was answer enough. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Sarah had already left for her yoga class. Her side of the bed barely slept in. We'd argued until past midnight, going in circles. She insisted nothing physical had happened with Jack. I believed her, mostly, but she'd admitted they'd grown closer over the past few months. He understands me, she'd said, the words cutting deeper than if she'd just admitted to cheating. I sat at the kitchen table, a flash drive in my hand. I'd spent the early morning hours downloading all the security footage Dave had found, plus screenshots of the Instagram messages I'd seen. Part of me couldn't believe I was doing this. The other part felt oddly calm, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. My phone buzzed. A text from Jack. "Hey man, you seemed off last night. Everything cool?" The casual tone, the fake concern, it made my blood boil. I didn't respond. Instead, I texted Sarah, "We need to talk. For real this time. Tonight. I'm inviting Jack over too." Her response came quickly. "No, don't do that. Please. Either you tell him you can't see him anymore, or I show him, and everyone else, what I've found. Your choice." It was an ultimatum, maybe unfair, but I was beyond caring about fairness. What does that mean? What have you found? Her panic was evident even in text. Tonight, 8 p.m., our house. At 7:30 that evening, I connected the flash drive to our TV. Sarah paced the living room, alternating between anger and pleading. "This is ridiculous, Mike. You're making something out of nothing. Then you won't mind if Jack sees the nothing too. It's going to ruin our friendship with him. Think about Melissa. Think about our friend group. You should have thought about that before inviting my best friend over whenever I wasn't home." The doorbell rang at 7:55. Sarah froze, her face pale. "Last chance," I said quietly. "End it now, and we can try to work through this. Just us." She shook her head, not in refusal but in disbelief. "There's nothing to end. You're blowing this out of proportion." I opened the door. Jack stood there, looking uncomfortable but putting on a smile. "Hey, Mike. Sarah said you wanted to talk." He stepped inside, glancing between us. "Everything okay?" "Not really, Jack." I closed the door firmly. "I think we need to discuss your relationship with my wife." His face registered confusion, then careful neutrality. "My, what?" "We're friends, man." "Right. Friends." I gestured to the couch. "Sit down." He sat, looking to Sarah for explanation. She stood rigid by the fireplace, arms crossed tightly. "Mike has some concerns," she said, her voice strained. "Concerns?" I echoed, turning on the TV. "Let me show you why." I pressed play on the first video clip. Watch Jack's face as he saw himself on our security camera, sitting too close to Sarah, holding her hand too long. His expression shifted from shock to shame. "Mike, it's not what it looks like?" I interrupted, switching to the next clip. This one showed them in our kitchen, 3 weeks ago. Sarah showing him something on her phone, both of them laughing, his arm casually around her shoulders. "Did Melissa know you were here that day?" I asked. Jack swallowed hard. "Look, man, you're misinterpreting MI." I clicked to open the Instagram messages I'd screenshot, displayed now on our 65-inch TV for all to see. "Am I misinterpreting these two?" Sarah made a small, strangled sound. "You went through my messages?" "Yes." I turned to her. "Just like you've been going behind my back with my best friend." Jack stood up. "This is getting out of hand. Nothing happened, Mike. We never crossed that line. The line was crossed the moment you started texting my wife without me knowing. The line was crossed when you started coming to our home when I wasn't here. The line was crossed when you developed feelings for her, and she for you." Sarah moved toward Jack, then stopped herself, seeming to realize how it would look. "It's not like that," she insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. "Then what is it like?" I asked, my voice deadly calm. "Explain it to me. Explain why my wife and best friend have been sneaking around, texting constantly, sharing jokes and stories I'm not part of." Neither answered. The silence said everything. I clicked to the final file, a compilation Dave had put together. Jack and Sarah at group gatherings over the past 6 months, footage from various friends' social media and our own cameras. Seen individually, each moment could be innocent. Together, they told a clear story. Lingering looks, casual touches, the way they gravitated toward each other in every room. "I loved you both," I said quietly when it ended. "I trusted you both." Jack looked at the floor. "Mike, I swear we never get out." "What? Get out of my house. Now." He glanced at Sarah, who was crying silently. That look, that instinctive checking with her, not me, was the final confirmation I needed. Sarah? He said uncertainly. She's staying? I said. We have more to discuss. You and I are done. Jack hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'm sorry, Mike. Truly. I didn't respond, just held the door open until he walked through it. When the door closed, Sarah collapsed onto the couch, her face in her hands. I don't know what to say. Start with the truth. For once. She looked up, her makeup streaked with tears. The truth is, I don't know what happened. We started texting about a group gift for your birthday. Then it just continued. He made me laugh. He asked how I was doing, really doing, not just the surface stuff. He remembered things I told him. And I don't. The injustice of it stung. You've been so busy with work, Mike. So distracted. When was the last time we really talked? Not about bills or schedules or house repairs, but really talked. She wasn't wrong, but it wasn't an excuse. So you turned to my best friend instead of telling me how you felt? I didn't plan it. It just happened, gradually. And then, I started looking forward to his texts, to seeing him. Did you sleep with him? I had to ask, even though I was almost certain they hadn't. No. Her denial seemed genuine. Never. It wasn't physical. But you wanted it to be, I said, repeating my statement from the night before. This time, she didn't look away. I don't know. Maybe. I thought about it. The honesty hurt more than a lie would have. I sat down heavily in the armchair across from her. What happens now? She asked quietly. I don't know. I was too exhausted to think clearly. I need time. Are you going to tell Melissa? The question surprised me. Do you care about Melissa now? You didn't seem concerned about her when you were entertaining her husband in our home. Sarah flinched. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Sarah. None of it. The next morning, I woke up on the couch. Sarah had taken the guest room. The house was quiet, Sunday morning stretching before us like a wasteland. My phone buzzed, a group text from the Prestons about brunch plans. I ignored it. Then another buzz. A private text from Jack. I know you probably hate me right now, but we need to talk. Man to man. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Nothing to talk about. His reply came quickly. Please. Meet me at Baker Park, 1 p.m. Just hear me out. Part of me wanted to ignore him. Another part needed closure. Fine. At 1 p.m., I sat on a bench in Baker Park, watching families with their children, couples walking hand in hand. Normal people with normal lives who hadn't discovered their spouse was falling for their best friend. Jack approached cautiously, sitting beside me but keeping his distance. We sat in silence for a minute. I told Melissa, he finally said. I turned to look at him. Everything. He nodded. Everything. She deserved to know. How'd she take it? About how you'd expect. Angry. Hurt. Confused. He rubbed his face. She kicked me out last night. I felt a flicker of satisfaction, then shame at my own pettiness. I'm sorry for her. Not for you. Fair enough. He stared at his hands. Look, Mike, I know it doesn't mean much now, but nothing physical ever happened between Sarah and me. I swear that. You think that makes it better? You were emotionally involved with my wife, Jack. My wife. I know. His voice was small. I don't have excuses. It just happened. The same thing Sarah had said. Like they had no agency, no choice in the matter. Did you love her? I had to know. He hesitated too long. I cared about her. Too much. In the wrong way. And now I've lost my best friend, probably my marriage. And for what? A fantasy that was never going to happen. He shook his head. I've been such an idiot. We sat in silence again, the weight of everything between us. What are you and Sarah going to do? He finally asked. I don't know yet. It was the truth. We have a lot to figure out. For what it's worth, she loves you. She always talked about you with such respect. While getting emotionally entangled with you, I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. That's on me as much as her. More, maybe. I should have backed off. Should have respected boundaries. I stood up, suddenly needing to be anywhere but here. I have to go. Mike, he called as I walked away. I'm sorry. More than I can say. I didn't look back. When I got home, Sarah was sitting at the kitchen table, her laptop open. She closed it quickly when I entered. I was just looking at. She trailed off, then straightened her shoulders. Marriage counselors. In our area. I hadn't expected that. Counseling. If you want to try. If you think we can get past this. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. I'll do whatever it takes, Mike. I love you. I sat down across from her, studying her face. The woman I'd married 15 years ago. The woman I'd built a life with. The woman who'd betrayed my trust in one of the worst ways possible. I saw Jack, I said. Her eyes widened. You did? Why? He wanted to talk. Said he told Melissa everything. Oh. She looked down. How is she? How do you think? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. She kicked him out. Sarah nodded slowly. I've been thinking all day about how I'd feel if the situation was reversed. If you had been secretly texting and meeting with one of my friends. The thought makes me physically sick. Now you know how I feel. I do. She reached across the table, not quite touching me. And I'm so sorry, Mike. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. I know. She pulled her hand back. Can I ask? Did you ever suspect before? Before I mentioned that video from Jack. I thought about it. Not consciously. Looking back, there were signs. The way he always sat next to you. The goodbye hugs. How excited you'd get when your phone buzzed. But I trusted you both too much to see it. She flinched at that. What can I do? To show you I'm serious about fixing this. I need time, I said. And complete transparency. No more secrets. No more hidden conversations. Anything, she agreed quickly. My phone is an open book. I've already deleted Instagram. And Jack, I sent him one message this morning, before you woke up. Told him I couldn't have any contact with him again, ever. That what we did was wrong, and I was going to do everything in my power to save my marriage. She swallowed hard. If you want to see the message, I saved it. It was a start. A small one. I found a counselor who specializes in infidelity. She continued when I didn't respond. Emotional affairs, specifically. She has an opening Tuesday. I nodded slowly. Okay. Hope flickered in her eyes. I'll go to counseling. I can't promise anything beyond that. That's fair. She hesitated. What about Jack and Melissa? Our friends? Everyone will want to know why we're suddenly not hanging out with them. It was a practical question I hadn't considered. The truth, I guess. Or some version of it. Do you think Melissa would want to talk to me? To hear my side? I couldn't help the harsh laugh that escaped. Your side? You mean the side where you developed feelings for her husband behind everyone's backs? Sarah's face crumpled. I deserve that. I sighed, the anger draining, leaving only weariness. Give her time. She's hurting too. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. We started counseling, which was painful but necessary. Sarah moved into the guest room. We told our closest friends a sanitized version of the truth. That boundaries had been crossed, trust broken, and we were working on rebuilding. Most were supportive, if shocked. Some took sides. The Prestons, surprisingly, rallied around us, making it clear they were friends with both couples separately now. Jack tried to reach out once more, then respected my silence. I heard through mutual friends that he and Melissa were also in counseling, trying to save their marriage. Sarah kept her word about transparency. She deleted social media, gave me her phone passwords, didn't question when I checked the security cameras. It was exhausting for both of us, this new reality of suspicion and verification. 2 months in, our counselor suggested a weekend away. Neutral territory, she called it. A place to remember why you chose each other in the first place. We booked a cabin in the mountains, a place we'd visited early in our marriage. The drive up was quiet, but not uncomfortable. We'd learned to exist in silence again, not always filling the air with words that might become weapons. That night, sitting on the porch watching the stars, Sarah spoke softly. I never thanked you. For what? I asked, genuinely confused. For fighting for us. You could have walked away. Most people would have. I thought about it. I almost did. I know. She hesitated. Can I ask why you didn't? 15 years, I said simply. 15 years is worth fighting for. She nodded, tears glistening in the moonlight. I think about it every day, you know. What I almost threw away. What I put at risk. And for what? Some attention? Some fantasy that wasn't even real. I didn't have an answer. We still didn't have all the answers. I love you, Mike, she said, not looking for a response. I've loved you since I was 27 years old. That never changed, even when I was confused. I reached over and took her hand, the first time I'd initiated contact in months. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. One day at a time, I said, echoing our counselor's mantra. Sarah squeezed my hand, and we sat in silence under the stars, the invisible lines between us slowly, tentatively beginning to repair. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.